I'm going to show you how a post-it note can completely transform your relationship. But first, we got to talk about marshmallows. I'm pretty sure you've heard of the marshmallow experiment. It's that very famous study where psychologists place a marshmallow on a plate in front of a kid. And then they explain to this child that they can either eat that marshmallow now or have two in a few minutes when the researcher comes back. So this researcher then leaves the room and, unbeknownst to the child, they're videoed just to see what the kid does. These children's reactions are priceless. Some of them cover their eyes, some of them look away, some of them talk to themselves, some of them talk to the marshmallow, but they do everything they can in order to resist that temptation to eat one marshmallow so that they can have two later. Some of these children succeed in this test of self-control while others do not. And the big psychological question is, why? What makes some kids able to resist that urge to eat a marshmallow and others not? This experiment is kind of famous in therapy world, and there's been a lot of long-term studies looking at the differences between the two groups of kids. And what they found is that the children who could not resist, who ate that first marshmallow, had lower SAT scores, higher BMIs, a whole bunch of other developmental differences that are really interesting and important for us to understand. Now, full disclosure, since the 60s or 70s when that was first conducted, there have been repetitions of this experiment. And we now know that it's not just that ability to resist temptation or the ability to delay gratification. There's actually other societal and cultural influences at work. But still, the delay of gratification is a super important thing for us to study. Did you know, though, that there was a version of this experiment that was created for adults? Before I tell you about this, if we've not met before, my name is Oliver and I'm a family systems therapist and a couples counselor, and I love helping people grow great relationships. Please hit comment, like, subscribe, share, all of the things, and I'll keep these videos coming. Now, when it comes to adults, obviously marshmallows aren't that big of a deal. The adult participants in this experiment were offered the decision between taking $100 in a year's time or $17 right now. What surprises me is that there was a statistically high number of people who chose the instant gratification of taking $17 right now. So what's all this got to do with relationships? I know I'm getting there, I swear, and it is all to do with what happens next in this adult version of the marshmallow experiment. And it's, for me, where this experiment gets even more interesting. The number of people who were able to delay gratification and get that $100 in a year's time increased when researchers helped them generate a feeling of gratitude in those volunteers. What we're saying is their ability to resist immediate gratification actually doubled when they were feeling gratitude before making the decision. And what makes it even more curious is this did not work when they were induced into feelings of joy or happiness. It was only gratitude. What can we learn from this? Well, only this minor little detail that gratitude has a profound impact on our brain and how it thinks about the future. Think about it. That $100 suddenly became twice as valuable than it was a few minutes ago before you felt that gratitude. Do you see where I'm going yet? Gratitude and relationships are kind of a big deal. In other experiments, when we induced that feeling of gratitude in volunteers, they were more likely to help strangers in one experiment, or in another one, they were more likely to share cash prizes within a team. So we can sort of deduce from this that gratitude makes us feel more connected, more willing to be in relationships. What we're talking about really is relationship reciprocation. When somebody does something kind for us and then we feel gratitude towards them, it inspires us to reciprocate that kindness. It provided us, obviously, with this evolutionary advantage because it strengthened relationships and social connections, and that's where society and culture comes from. For you and me, whether it's helping a friend move furniture or providing some relationship advice, we do it on some level knowing that they are more likely to reciprocate in the future. Because gratitude fortifies and solidifies relationships. So practicing this gratitude in an intentional and structured way, not like, thanks for doing the dishes, is going to be a game changer in your romantic relationship. That's why it's the first question I get people to write down when I give them my couples check-in checklist activity. This is a worksheet that I've been refining in my private practice for years, and you can buy the full version on my store. The link is somewhere around there. But all you really need to do is grab some post-it notes before you sit down for your next meal or before you turn on that Netflix show on a Friday night. You just take 3 post-it notes each and take a minute to write a few things that you're grateful for about your partner that happened that week. And then you take turns reading them to each other. I've got some very specific tips on sharing gratitude. Number 1, you can't say the same thing week after week. And similarly, when you're writing things down in this activity, do 3 very different things. When you write things down, you have to feel into that memory. Try and evoke some of the good feelings you had in the moment that week when your partner did something that you're grateful to. This is a positive psychology technique called savoring, and there's probably a whole other video in it. But let's just say it fills up the good feelings tank, and that helps with resilience and all kinds of good things. Next tip is try and go for less obvious things when you're talking to your partner. Of course, you were grateful that they did the dishes, but be vulnerable. Let them know how much you appreciate them holding your hand or listening to you vent the other evening. Now, when it comes to listening to your partner, listen out for any of your critical parts that try and bat away compliments or feelings of gratitude expressed towards you. You know, the voice that says, oh, you're only saying that because you have to, and if it wasn't for this thing, you'd never think of that. We've all got those parts. It's really easy to dismiss your partner's appreciation of you and kind words that they offer. It is much harder to sink in and experience the gift that they are giving you in this exercise. And number 5, yeah, it is a gift. If you dig in deep, if you're vulnerable, it truly is a gift that you are giving your partner. And writing it on a post-it note means that you're literally giving them a gift after you read it out loud. One of my clients I know puts their gratitude post-it notes from their partner on their steering wheel so they see it every morning when they go to work. Another client keeps them all in a journal, creating sort of pages of gratitude. It is a beautiful way to stay in touch with your partner's feelings towards you, to savor those feelings of gratitude and yumminess and connection. You might be very tempted just to throw these post-it notes away and turn on your Netflix show, but I'm going to challenge you to hold on to at least one of these post-it notes for a week. Put it on your mirror, put it in your car, your journal, wherever you want, and just notice what happens to you, what happens to your feelings, what happens to your inner experience when you notice it during the week. Maybe nothing at all. Maybe you'll notice a little smile on your face. And that would be all of those attachment connections firing in your brain, releasing all those good, yummy hormones, priming you to think of your partner as someone who you love and care about and need to keep around. Here's the deal about the post-it notes, because of course you could just share 3 things that you're grateful for, but the post-it notes can turn into a ritual. And rituals are, yes, another way that couples can come together and strengthen their relationship. If you think about it, humanity and our civilization is all built around rituals. They help people come together. They help form society. And you and your partner, no doubt, already have some little rituals already. Maybe it's those cute pet names that you have for each other. Maybe it's the way that you say goodbye in the morning or hello when you come back after work. Rituals establish security in relationships. It becomes your thing and helps you connect and keeps you bonded. Any version of the check-in checklist activity or this post-it note gratitude experiment creates this little bubble in your week where you're coming together intentionally to do a little ritual. And the power of intentional time with your partner should never be underestimated. That's because you're building a foundation of trust and communication when you do this. And if you're into the idea, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the check-in checklist activity. It consists of 10 questions, some of which you ask your partner, some of which you ask yourself. You share the responses with one another in a very specific order, and it's been refined over the years in such a way that this sequence requires you to be direct with asking for what you need. It encourages feedback, accountability, and over time, develops integrity, trust, and of course, gratitude. The core concepts of this activity came from an interview I watched with Tim Ferriss, which I expanded upon and developed. So you could keep this really simple, and I'll tell you the 3 questions that Tim Ferriss used, or you could download my version of this, which has a few more questions and is essentially a PDF worksheet that you keep printing every week. Tim Ferriss's questions were, what is my partner doing well? What am I doing well? what do I desire even more of? Whatever version you use, I think that you will find these 3 questions prevent criticism or attacks because they help you focus instead on expressing gratitude, using I statements, and communicating your needs very directly. I highly recommend to people in my private practice that these responses are all written down for future reference. And there's a reason for that. Okay, one of them is I have a weird thing for post-it notes, but I do think that a journal works well, or even just storing pieces of paper in a folder would be fine too. And that's because we want the ability to look back and review our commitments and our progress. When you write things down and you share post-it notes with your partner in particular, there's an element of accountability and integrity. So if your partner answers the question, what do I want even more of this week, with a very specific request, like I need you to help me out by cooking dinner 3 times. And then they give you that post-it note with it written on, you kind of can't say that you forgot, or you kind of can't say you didn't hear them. And if you do forget, well, you've got to discuss that the following week because you're establishing a ritual and doing this at the same time every week. So you've got to be able to discuss what happened, why you didn't do the dinner, why you said yes and you actually couldn't. Maybe it's something simple, maybe it's something actually very complicated going on in your relationship, but it'll open up a conversation and hopefully you'll be able to navigate that and become closer by the end of it. I've been giving various versions of this to couples in my private practice for a while. So I know from feedback that this is an ideal homework for couples who are juggling kids, works, careers, and travel. It's concise and impactful. A lot of my clients have expressed how invaluable this tool has become, and they see it as setting the tone for the week ahead. Some couples have involved their children into it, making it a family ritual. And it seems that the feedback I get is that it really transforms the foundation of the relationships. And if you do any version of this, please leave me a comment. I would love to know how this is going for you. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and share, and check out mypeoplepatterns.com.